Here's the legal bit before we start. Listen to Your Soul podcast provides general information and inspiration. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and should not be considered professional or medical advice. By listening, you agree to take responsibility for any actions based on the content shared. Welcome to Listen to Your Soul, the podcast where we explore self-discovery, intuition, personal growth, and the magic of living in alignment. I'm Sandy Banfield, your host on this journey of soulful transformation. This is the space for you if you're ready to trust your inner wisdom, embrace your power, and create a life that feels truly yours. Hello and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be diving into a topic that I believe is one of the most transformative tools for personal growth. Cultivating self-awareness. Self-awareness is a skill that underpins the very aspect of our lives. It connects to how we process emotions, how we make decisions, and how we navigate challenges. And today we're going to discuss some of the simple techniques that you can use to start developing more self-awareness in your life straight away. What are we going to cover? Well, we're going to be covering what self-awareness is and why it's essential, how it connects to our emotional intelligence and personal growth, practical techniques to help you cultivate self-awareness within your own life, how to use self-awareness to navigate challenges and make intentional choices. And then we're going to move on and talk about the relationship between self-awareness and mindfulness. And then we're going to finish up working through the crucial role of shadow work and self-awareness and healing. And if you don't know what shadow work is, we're going to explain that a little bit more. There's lots of juicy things there to discuss. Okay, so what is self-awareness and why is it so crucial? In simple terms, self-awareness is the ability to observe and recognize your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It's about being able to reflect on what's going on inside of you and outside of you and how these influence your actions, your interactions with the world around you. Being self-aware means that you can check in with yourself regularly. You'll start to notice your triggers. You'll begin to understand why you feel and act the way that you do. And as you start to become more aware, you'll start to gain the power to change what is no longer serving you. It's a really incredible thing to have because you do have the power to then make these changes. You can work through that and then you can start to release that energy so it doesn't hold you down. And it's a really empowering process. Okay, so here's the thing. Self-awareness doesn't necessarily come that easily. It can take time, patience, and a real willingness to be honest with yourself. Not everyone is keen to look and do this self-reflection work. They might want to shy away from it. They might feel uncomfortable. They might find they come up against some resistance. You might come up against a lot of this resistance as well when you start. And not everyone wants to see, they don't want to have that awareness. They don't want to look at what their faults are or their less favorable parts. They don't want to see their own shadows. This is the work that leads to true transformation. You build upon it, you work upon it. It's step by step. You break it down like all of these things. You break it down. And the more you do self-reflective work, the more that you grow and you build on that and you build on that. It leads to peace within yourself, within your life. It stops you from being affected by what's going on around you. And it allows you to start to have peace within, to be happy within, to be content with who you are. All of the good and all of the bad. You can recognize your faults and you have peace with that. It's a really powerful, powerful thing. Okay, so let's move on to here's a question for you. Do you feel like you know yourself deeply? Or are there parts of you that you're just starting to understand, starting to unravel, starting to unpack? If you're not sure, don't worry. This is a lifelong journey and I'll be sharing some techniques to help you along the way. So self-awareness, it plays a huge role in emotional intelligence. That is because when we understand our emotions, we can start to respond to them rather than reacting. We don't have this knee-jerk reaction to things. When we have emotional intelligence, that means you're able to manage your emotions in a healthy way. Not saying that you're still not going to be triggered and you're still not going to be affected and you're still not going to react to things, but maybe the reaction isn't as big and you're not going to just fly off the handle at the littlest thing, or something that might have triggered you just has this like inbuilt feeling within your body. Over time, that will disperse, that will go. Self-awareness is the first step to having more emotional intelligence. When you are self-aware, you begin to notice your emotions and when they're rising, whether that's anger or sadness or excitement. You have the ability just to pause before acting on them. And that pause is crucial because it allows you to choose your response rather than just reacting out of habit. It's a choice. And once you understand that you see it like that and you see that you have a choice on how you respond and how you react, it is truly life-changing. And it can affect things in such a positive way. It can affect your relationships. It affects how you feel about yourself. You feel calmer, you feel more at peace. It affects your relationship because you're not flying off the handle, getting into arguments, and things are a lot more peaceful. So let's talk about some practical ways that you can start to build some self-awareness today. Here are a couple of strategies that I'm going to outline that have helped me and hopefully will help you as well. So first of all, breathing, mindful breathing, breath work, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the easiest ways to begin practicing some self-awareness, being mindful, slowing things down, slowing your brain down, slowing your body down, slowing your mind. And this means simply just paying attention to your breath. It doesn't have to be a long breathwork exercise, but simply slowing down. Take note of your breath, whether it's calm, whether it's shallow, whether it's heavy. Bring your mind to your breath. You want to notice if when you inhale and exhale, what's happening. As thoughts arise, acknowledge them without judgment, and you want to return your focus to your breath. When you focus on your breathing, you bring your focus to the present. And when you're in the present moment, that is where self-awareness thrives. And I'll probably do a separate episode just on breathwork. And I've actually got an amazing person who I will probably try and see if I can get on board, who would be an awesome person to talk more on this topic. But breathwork is amazing. It grounds you. It brings you to the present moment. I use it at the beginning of all of my sessions, whether that's my live events or whether it's my coaching sessions. We do a mini breathwork and everyone responds the same. Everyone slows down. Everyone is calmer. Everyone feels more grounded. And the one I do is less than a couple of minutes, not even that long probably. I do it with my children at bedtime. It calms things down. Our erratic thoughts, our erratic emotions. Breath work is amazing. It brings us back to the present moment. Okay, moving on. Journaling. Gosh, I'm going to do another episode on this one as well because these are all like episodes in themselves. Journaling is so underused and I love journaling. You'll hear me talk about this so much. You'll probably get bored of me talking about it. But write your thoughts and feelings down. They can be an amazing way to reveal what is happening, even if you're not consciously aware of it. Journaling is going to show that to you. And you can just take a few minutes a day or even just start off with like 5-10 minutes once a week just to get the practice started. And the more you do it, the more you create a habit. There's a book called Atomic Habits and it talks about habit stacking. So if you're going to go and have a cup of coffee in the morning or a cup of tea and you've got 5 minutes on that back of that habit and you know it's a daily thing you don't even have to do, or brushing your teeth or something like that, you then add on another habit and you can go and then do your journaling for 5 minutes while you're having a cup of tea. Marry the two together. Okay. When you're doing your journaling, you can ask yourself, what emotions are you feeling? Why do you think they've come up for you? And this can help you identify patterns and gain clarity on your emotional and your mental state. It's an amazing tool to use. Put pen to paper, write things down. It will help you have that self-awareness, bring that to the forefront of what you're experiencing and why. What was that trigger? What did that person say? Why am I feeling so triggered by them? When did I feel like that before? Start asking these questions, journal about them. Okay, so the next one, daily check-ins. Set time aside to check in with yourself regularly. And if that is just you doing your journaling or you're doing your mindful breath work, then maybe that's just it. Ask yourself, how am I feeling today? What's on my mind? What do I need? These questions are going to guide you towards a deeper connection with your true self. You want to start observing your reactions. Pay attention to how you react with different situations or with certain people. Why do certain events or people trigger these reactions in you? Why is that? Ask yourself, what's the underlying root cause here? Is that person or situation or something else going on? Why is that coming up for you? When did you feel like that before? It's helping you have more awareness about a situation or a person, and it's bringing that self-awareness to the surface. Understanding these triggers, why they exist, they're a huge indicator of something else that's going on. There's always a root cause. There's always an origin story. And it's learning to find where that is so that you can work through it and then release it and let it go so it doesn't bother you anymore. It doesn't affect you in the same way. They're going to help you respond more consciously moving forward once you have the awareness to these situations, these people, these triggers. All right. And then the last one here is active listening, which might sound a bit strange, but when we practice listening to others and give them our full attention, we are also being in the present moment, like with the breath work and mindfulness. When we listen actively, without distractions, without judgment, we learn more about ourselves and our relationships. It helps us to gain some insight to our own communication styles, to our own emotional responses. It's all about being present. All right, so let's move on to self-awareness and how we can use it when we're navigating challenges. So self-awareness isn't just about feeling good. It's about navigating life's challenges with grace. By being more aware of who we are and how we respond to difficult situations, we can be more intentional with our choices. For example, let's say you're feeling frustrated at work or with a loved one, or something's going on in your life, and instead of just letting those emotions control you and letting it take over, you make the choice to step back, to breathe, to ask yourself some questions of what's really going on here. Why am I feeling this way? How can I choose a better response? And you have that within you. We all do. And something I always use is the phrase, especially when things get heated, mainly with my kids. I've got young kids in the house and things can blow up. And they're these beautiful souls that can't always manage their emotions. And I honestly can't always manage mine either. But when those moments, I'd always try and tell myself, meet their chaos with my calm. It's one of my little mantras, especially when things are going crazy in the house with kids. And look, I am not always calm in situations. I really am not. I'm human. I'm living in this human body. I get triggered as well. We're all human. We all get these triggers. But I do know that I have control over how I respond and deal with the situation. And it's not always easy. And I don't always do it perfectly. I definitely do not do it perfectly, especially with my kids. I can't control others and I can't control a situation. However, I do know that I can control how I respond and how I react. And that's on me. And that's something I tell myself to try and overcome and continue to work on. And I'm still learning and I'm still trying to do it. But when we're aware of our emotions, it really helps us to gain clarity. And in turn, you can make decisions that align with your values instead of just reacting impulsively. You don't react so impulsively to situations because you have more awareness, and it's almost like you're able to step back a bit. You're able to step back from the situation and come at it with, okay, what is actually going on here? What's the bigger picture, rather than just going full in and reacting and responding. And the more present you are, the more grounded you are, the more you are in what I call in your own alignment, and you don't react and you don't respond to situations maybe as quickly as you would have before. And I'm just going to remind you of this book, which is I've mentioned previously in an earlier episode, Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. She talks about this, like how we have these choices and how we have a better understanding of people. She's talking about self-awareness. So if you haven't checked out that book, it's on Audible. You can buy the hard copy on Amazon, I think. It's called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Go download it. It's one of the best personal development books that I have read in the last 5 years. It's honestly just wonderful. Okay. So let's move on. Self-awareness is the key component to mindfulness. And when we practice mindfulness, we become more attuned to our present moment. We can't escape that. When you're mindful, when you're being mindful, you are really in the present moment. We notice what's happening inside and around us. And by cultivating this awareness, we begin to uncover the patterns of our behavior, of our thoughts, of our emotions. And as you begin to integrate mindfulness into your daily life, your self-awareness will also deepen. You'll begin to notice what feels aligned, what doesn't feel aligned, and you'll be able to make changes that support your highest good. I want you to think about a time when you have been mindful, if this is something that you struggle with. For me, when I do my art, when I'm drawing, and I see my kids colouring in, I actually do colouring in with my kids as well. When I'm in that moment of that activity, I am the most present I am at any point. And this is what I talked about in an earlier episode as well. It's like when I'm in the shower, that's when my intuitive thoughts come. And that's because I'm in the present moment. I can't think about the future and I can't think about the past. I'm just right here in that present moment. Same thing with drawing, same thing with art, same thing with colouring in. You're focused on that task. So think about what that might be for you when you are mindful, when you can take yourself to that place where you're just right in that moment. You can't be thinking about things in the future and you can't be thinking things in the past. That's where you want to get back to, that moment. And it's fleeting. It's not like we're there all the time, but it's learning how we can pull ourselves back there. That's the key. It's like learning, how do we pull ourselves back into that present moment? How do we do that? So have a think about when you've had a mindful moment. What were you doing? Was there an activity? How did that feel? Just to remind yourself what that is, what it looks like, what it feels like. Okay, so let's recap what we've talked about so far. Number 1, self-awareness. It's about being able to recognize and reflect on our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. Number 2, it connects directly to our emotional intelligence, giving you the power to respond, not react. Number 3, it's techniques like mindfulness, breathing, journaling, those daily check-ins, the active listening, which is going to help you cultivate more of that self-awareness. Number 4, you can then navigate challenges with more intention and make decisions that align with your true self. And number 5, mindfulness and self-awareness, they work together to help you live a more mindful, intentional life. All right, and I just wanted to add in here a little bit to do with shadow work. And if you don't know about shadow work, it's the process of bringing awareness to our unconscious hidden parts of ourselves that we often avoid or suppress. So it's connected to self-awareness, and there are aspects that we carry, a past hurts, our fears, unresolved emotion. And when we have that true self-awareness, it's not just about seeing things in a positive way or, necessarily understanding them, but it's integrating these into the shadow aspects of our world. And to truly understand ourselves, we've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to look deeper, to explore the certain things, those things that trigger you, and why you react, what hidden emotions might be driving your behaviors. And that's where the shadow work enhances this self-awareness, the emotional intelligence. It allows you to then heal those wounds that will fuel your unconscious reactions. And it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing journey. Shadow work is amazing with the combination of that self-awareness. It's going to really allow you to dig deep, to let those things rise to the surface that you need to work through, to release, to let go. And in that, it's a freeing thing. Once you actually are able to release it, you feel lighter and feel calmer. It is really observing your reactions. Pay attention to how you react to situations. If something is triggering you, like we talked about earlier, it's linked to this self-awareness. But what are you actually feeling? What is that root cause? The origin story that I talked about, that's going to really help you unravel what those shadow aspects are that you need to work through for you to then heal them to move forward. And I think I might actually just do a specific episode on shadow work because there is a lot more. We could delve deeper on this. All right, so I have a self-will challenge for you. You don't need to do this, as I always say, but if you'd like to, I think they can be really, really helpful. I just want you to take a moment to check in with yourself, ask yourself the question, how are you feeling right now? What's the one thing you can do today to deepen your self-awareness? Is that doing some mindful breathing that we talked about? Maybe that's doing some journaling. Maybe it's just actually asking yourself these questions, jotting them down, seeing what comes up for you. And I want you to remember that cultivating this self-awareness, it's an ongoing process. I like a lot of this work. It's one layer disappears and then there's another layer and another layer. It's about creating space to listen to yourself, being mindful of how you're reacting and how you're responding. Reflect on your actions, reflect on your responses to situations, to people, to situations. And then that's going to help you make more intentional choices. As you practice, you'll find that life begins to flow more smoothly for you, that you're not as reactive, that you are able to sort of take more of a step back and actually review a situation before you just launch right in and react. You can then make decisions that truly reflect what you want on a soul level. So before we wrap this up, I want to end on this lovely quote that self-awareness is the key to self-mastery. And I couldn't find a credit for that one. It came up as an anonymous, but I just think that's a really lovely quote for us to end on. Well, I really hope that you got some nuggets out of this conversation today. I just want to say thank you as always for spending the time with me, listening to me, and I'd love to hear how you're bringing more self-awareness into your own life. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, share your thoughts, and remember to take a moment to pause, to reflect, and most importantly, to keep listening to your soul. Until next time, that's all from me. Thank you for joining me on Listen to Your Soul. I hope today's episode brought you some clarity, inspiration, or a little spark of magic. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who you feel might need this message.